Now, the election drums may be sounding, but a new poll suggests Liberal leader Michael Ignatieff may want to look before he leaps. The Nanos poll, done for La Presse, shows that if an election were held today, the Liberals would still trail the Conservatives. The numbers look like this. Prime Minister Stephen Harper and the Conservatives have a substantial lead with 37.5% popular support. The Liberals at 33.4%, up dramatically from their showing in the last election, but they're still well back. And the NDP is down from their previous showing at the election, sitting at just shy of 15%. Joining us now, Nik Nanos, the man behind the poll, the president and CEO of Nanos Research. Explain these numbers to us, Nik, and why you see so much movement at the top of the leaderboard here.
Well, what it shows is that with the increased election speculation, the numbers have moved in favor of the Conservatives in the last 30 days. Actually, the 6-point jump is significant. But the news is that the movement has primarily occurred in Quebec, which is a key battleground, and also in Atlantic Canada. And in both of those provinces, the Tory numbers are up and the NDP numbers are down.
And why do you see this to be the case?
Well, I think this is a very difficult time for Jack Layton actually to get space and attention in the media. The focus for the last 30 days has been primarily on the Prime Minister and Michael Ignatieff and their showdown and whether there'll be an election. As a result, the NDP just have not been in the news as much and their numbers have gone down. And we know from our research in the past, when Jack Layton has what I'll say the big vision and the big ask and he's in the news, his numbers go up. And when the focus is on Ignatieff and Harper, the NDP numbers go down.
Now, we've had an awful lot of political saber-rattling lately. Might help if we knew exactly the context of the poll. When did you take these numbers? Was it after Michael Ignatieff made his big announcement?
Yes, it was. So it was completed last week on September the 2nd.
So that was pretty much the official kickoff for the next election campaign, was it not?
I guess. Yeah, that's one way. Without a trip to the Governor General, but that's pretty well about it.
But this is the second set of numbers we have had that have shown the Liberals to be in second place, and they're the ones who are threatening to bring down the government. Is there something going on here that's not obvious, or are there some people looking at political suicide?
Well, there's actually another number that really jumps out. The percentage of undecided voters has significantly increased in the last 30 days from about 15% to 24%. And that's actually unusually high. We see that when we are just before an election. There are a number of Canadians who just decide to park with the undecided before they make their decision. And I'm sure for Michael Ignatieff, he's looking at those undecided voters and thinking that he and the Liberal Party can appeal to those individuals to vote Liberal at this point in time, and that he's kind of hedging his strategy. And for the Conservatives, the fact that there are a number of undecided voters means that it's a risk for them, that things could quite quickly change.
What about the government, Dianne Finlay today announcing that there is EI reform in the works? It may not be exactly what the opposition has been calling for, but it does take a little bit of the air out of that sail, does it not?
Absolutely. I think what the Conservatives are trying to do is to try to make Michael Ignatieff irrelevant, at least on the EI file. And let's face it, if the Conservatives can come up with a proposal that is remotely acceptable to the New Democrats and the Bloc, Michael Ignatieff and the Liberals are going to be a bystander on the EI issue. Jack Layton will be elevated a bit. Gilles Duceppe will at least be able to avoid an election, but the big winner will probably be Stephen Harper and Jack Layton.
Do you see any way to avoid an election after the rhetoric? I mean, these numbers look like it's not really the right time for the opposition to go, and yet it looks like they've kind of boxed themselves in.
Yeah, I think for the Liberals, they're on a path that they can't really turn back on, that Michael Ignatieff has been very definitive at this point in time, except if there was some kind of national emergency or significant change. I don't think he can back down from his threat to try to bring down the government. For the New Democrats, I think they've got to be looking at these numbers and be a little worried, especially since, you know, they made their breakthrough in Quebec in the riding of Outremont under Montclair. That's probably in jeopardy right now because the NDP Quebec numbers are down. And then in Ontario, the NDP numbers are low, which means that for Jack Layton, he's got to be looking at these numbers and thinking this is definitely not a good time to have an election because there might be a setback for the NDP, which will not be good for Jack Layton or the NDP.
Nik Nanos, President and CEO of Nanos Research. Thanks very much, Nik. Thank you.
My pleasure.